everybody. I'm Harshni from HDIC's MedTech Incubator hosting the session. So before moving into the session, I would like to set some guidelines where I request all the participants to go on mute and turn on your mic only when you speak. And since this is a platform for free flow talk and discussions, anybody can raise questions and provide answers or suggestions. Hence, by doing this, let's keep it a free flow one. We've also got a feedback form. The link will be posted on the chat box, requesting everybody to kindly fill it, which would help us improvise in the upcoming sessions. So today we've got two other startups who have recently been funded by DST under the Kavach program with HDIC nominated as a satellite center. Introducing to you all the speakers of the day. Mr. Santosh Kumar from Aerofill Filters India Private Limited and Mr. Rupam Das from Aculi Labs Private Limited. A warm welcome to both of you, sir. So starting off with Mr. Santosh Kumar, he has developed N95 quality mask as well as 3-ply surgical mask during the initial phase of the COVID-19 crisis. So sir, we would like to hear about your solution from you, sir.
Thank you very much. And also thank you for good evening to everybody. And thank you, Kavach, for this platform and also the opportunities given to all of us. Yeah, well, I'm so glad to share my experience as well as about us in this forum. See, we are basically into air filtration, and we have been into air filtration for quite some time. And during the initial phase of the COVID-19, the first lockdown period, in fact, in the month of March, around the 22nd, when we heard about the chief minister speaking that there is a heavy shortage of N95 quality mask, which has to be given to the health workers. It was a scenario all over in India. Before the COVID, the demand for N95 kind of mask was very little. Like per month, a hospital takes maybe 500 pieces. There are few manufacturers which are dominating in this field. But when this pandemic situation came, the central government procuring team through the HLL Healthcare, they have already booked the capacities of all these companies, and this has created a shortage of good quality mask in the market. So that's a time where even the Kerala government was also talking about the shortage of mask, and they are also a bit scared that the supply of PPE for the government hospitals as well as some of the private hospitals be in trouble. So that time, with our experience in air filtration, we knew that we could do something, but still we were not clear what is the combination to be used, because to reach to a high efficiency in air filtration, it is possible, but by controlling the filtration efficiency with a better breathability is really a challenge, because you need to give the maximum higher efficiency. At the same time, you need to give a good breathability. So this was really a challenge in the development. So the lockdown is there. So the logistics is a problem, transportation, setting up a new unit. So all these things were really a problem for any companies who venture into any new product during a situation like the lockdown. So immediately our technical team, we all joined together, and we did some recipes, and we got a good result. And then I contacted the Kerala Medical Services Corporation, and I said, look, if you help us during this lockdown period with the logistics, we will be able to develop the N95 mask of the quality what you are requiring. One thing I should thank to the state government administration also, within a short time, I got calls from different IAS officials asking what is the help you need. We are here to support you. Go ahead with confidence. So this really encouraged us. And within a period of 2 weeks' time, we have set up a new unit with all clean room set. And it was all 24 hours we were working there. I mean, our people were working there and got it done. And then we got some machines converted. Whatever machines we are using in our air filtration, we managed to convert some of the machines. Then we imported some machines. Then we started using some of the raw materials, what we have. And then again, there is no testing facility available in Kerala. So this was really a tough time, like how to test the mask efficiency and also how to test breathability, the leakage and all those things. So we got some support from the Startup Mission, especially the Maker Village, which is under the Startup Mission. They came and said, look, what are the support you need? I said, we need support for testing the mask. And then we gave the mask to them and they sent it to different laboratories in Coimbatore and also in DRDE, and they tested and they have given us a result. And it was really excellent because we could reach to a level where our breathability is even 30% better than any N95 available in the market. And we have reached to an efficiency of 98%. So we got the confidence from that we could make a good quality mask. Then it was a matter of, how to shape it, how to design it, and how to make it in a way like the production optimization can be taken place. So our team members really worked towards that, and they have frozen a design. Then we have set up the line. Initially, it was a manual operation, and then we could add more production lines. We import machineries. With all these hard works, today we have reached to a level where we are producing about 60,000 pieces per day. So this all happened in the last 2.5 months. Time, and a latest development is that we got BIS certified also for the our mask. So this is the latest development. So we are now supplying the mask to the whole hospitals in Kerala as well as other states, because we have people who are approaching us for our mask. So we wanted to ensure that there has to be something different from what others are doing. So we have added some additional features which make doctors more comfortable in using it. And we got feedback from most of the doctors that this is one of the most comfortable masks they ever used. So these are the encouragement, and then we keep on taking feedbacks from the doctors, from different customers who are using it for the improvement. We used to ask them, okay, how do you feel about the mask? Is it giving you any kind of discomfort? Do you need any improvement? So all these are being collected on a daily basis, contacting different customers, and all this helped us in improvising it, because there was nobody to teach us the technology before we started this. So it's all happened within our company. We thought, okay, we should do it. And obviously the experience in air filtration played a lot in deciding it. And then we also got stocks from our associate companies in different places to to produce the material, because during the peak time of the COVID-19, there was a heavy shortage of raw material for making the filters and also for the mask, which is the Melblon. And we could secure some of the stocks from some of the non-companies in Gulf and also the other places. So we managed to do it. Finally, today we are ensuring that there is no shortage of supply to any government hospitals in Kerala, also any other places. So yeah, this is what we did during the COVID, and we have also contributed ourselves by making sure that the supply is enough for this kind of critical product. So any questions from anybody regarding this? Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Sir, you said you have added some extra features in your mask, in your designed mask.
Yeah.
What are the features you have added, sir, actually?
See, when we initially launch the mask, obviously we will be looking at the market leaders' product, how they have done the different aesthetic appear. Look of the mask, how the tightening of the mask. So we also something similar we did initially, and then later we found from the customers that when the shape and the size of various people, their face, their head, it's all differing. So a universal size doesn't fit 100% into everybody. Then we understood that there is an extra locking system is required for them to pull the mask maximum to fit to their face and lock it. So we added a cord lock to the mask. Then again, it is a laborious job because each cord has to be individually done manually. So it needs a lot of people for doing it. So this cord lock system, what we introduced, I think it is nobody else is doing it. So that really gave a lot of appreciation from the doctors who are using, because when they are wearing the mask, on top of that they are wearing a face shield, and they are wearing also the hood. So it is very difficult if it slips down or up. It's very difficult for them to refix it because they are wearing the gloves and all. So since the mask is having this locking system, it is easy for them to tighten it, and it will fix till they want to remove it. Okay. So that's highly appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, it is good, sir. Mm-hmm. Very good, sir.
Thank you.
In there is a technique
Hello?
for obtaining body organ system. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Hi, sir. This is Santosh here. I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Recently, I read the news that N95 masks with valve are banned in India, like that, due to the fact that N95 valves are used for industrial purposes only, like that, and it doesn't help the virus from prevent the virus from getting out of it, like that. So, can you just give me an explanation for that, sir? Or,
Yeah, actually, when we developed the mask, the first day, the customers who purchased the first lot itself asked us, why don't you provide us a mask with the valve? Because first of all, N95 mask, the resistance to the flow is very high. That means the breathability is very less compared to the 3-ply mask. So because of this reason, when the exhale air, 100% will not go out of the mask. A percentage will always, the carbon dioxide, a certain percentage will remain inside the cavity of the mask. So if you provide a valve, then when they exhale with the force, most of the air will go out. That means they feel less warmth inside, and it's feel more better using that mask. But that time itself, I have requested the doctors not to use the mask with the valve, because the air which is going out from the mask is unfiltered. Not only the air, if the person who is wearing the mask if they cough or sneeze, the secretions also will go out without any kind of filtration. So this is very dangerous for in this pandemic situation, because if the person who is wearing the mask, if at all he is a carrier, or if he is a patient, he can pass it on to the people nearby. So it is really advised not to use the mask with the valve. Is it okay, or you want any more details about it?
No, sir, I'm okay with it. And I have another question for you. So I am, I'm seeing multiple people involved in this N95 mask business, and I could see like lots of inquiries showing up with a huge demand. Like we need a 1 crore piece, 2 crore, like that. So how you are identifying the exact buyer and filtering out all the other scammers in the market?
See, in this, this time, I mean, when we consider the mask business, we have two things. It is not only the business what we should consider. We should also consider the availability of this product to the people who really in need, who are the doctors, the nurses, or the frontline officers who are in the field. See, till date, I have not sold a single piece to the medical shops. I have several requests from across the state to they are willing to pay in advance, take the product, distribute to the medical shops. But the why I am not able to encourage that is because the common people does not need an N95 mask today. What they need is a good 3-ply mask with a Melblon having a high bacterial filtration efficiency or a particle filtration efficiency. But the number of, because these all are disposable masks. So every day the doctors use maybe 1 or 2 masks. So the number of hospitals, the number of doctors, number of health workers, if we consider, the supply is not enough. And I would like to reach my mask mostly into the critical care area, because we are very confident about the mask what we are producing, and we are not ready to do any compromise on the quality. So we wanted to give it to the right people. So there are several requests coming up for the N95 mask from different parts of the Indian subcontinent, and I really wish more companies to come up, because we have to classify the areas into critical area, semi-critical area, and also the normal market. So the market where the people for me, myself, I don't use an N95 mask. I always use a 3-layer mask, because that is more than enough for my protection. I know it. And 3-layer mask is itself, that has to be with a Melblon inside, and that Melblon has to be a quality one. Otherwise, that 3-ply mask also is not safe. But today, what I have seen is that the market is flooded with cloth mask, different cloth mask, different plastic non-ones with the sandwich with the sponge kind of a mask. So such mask, it is only giving a good look, but it never do any protection from the virus, because if you pour a little water into this, the water will leak. That means any secretions can leak out of that. And that kind of, none of the woven mask can give you a filtration more than 40 to 50%. How many layers you put also. So that is the reason why. But at the same time, it will protect the common man from touching their nose and mouth. Okay, so at least that is good. Today, I have written to the police chief that because the policemen are getting affected, so I sent a request to them to study the possibility of issuing 3-layer mask with the Melblon to the policemen instead of giving the cloth mask, because there are so many institutions, so many associations given the three-layer mask without melblone, as well as the cloth mask to various police stations and all. But since it is a free mask, they are using it, and unfortunately, they are getting infected. So the people who are working in the front line in the field or hospitals and all, they should use the minimum three-layer mask with this kind of melblone. So this is the reason why what we are producing is a high quality mask, and I want it to be used by the right people. That is the reason why we are not going so big in taking inquiries from the market. Like as you said, inquiries will come more and more because every government, every distributors wanted to keep big stock for tomorrow. Even central government is also doing through HLL. They are also securing stock, because tomorrow, if there is a the community spread is going to be worsened, then there will be a scarcity of mask all over India. There will be, like for example, many of the states in the northeast and all, there is no production of N95 mask. So if the material is not reaching there, then even the health workers will be all prone to the disease. So this is the reason why we don't want to go in such a big way in marketing it to the into the market, into the common market. So we are just trying to supply it to the hospitals. So
Yes, sir. Thank you.
any other questions?
Yeah, hope that answered Santosh's question. So now it's time for Mr. Rupam Das. He's been developing a non-invasive technique for obtaining body organs biomarks, which can analyze the changes in the body organ system. So, sir, we would like to hear your solution from you, sir. Sir, you're on mute. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ashwini. I see Chennai for giving us this opportunity. First of all, let me thank Santosh ji for such an amazing talk. He walked us through his journey. We learned a lot, including how to pivot existing company into market need, and how to be a responsible entrepreneur, offering the solution to the needed one rather than going for the profit. So thank you, Santosh sir, for walking us through. Hi everyone, I'm Rupam, founder of Aculi Labs. I've been an innovator and developer since last 20 years, doing various scientific researches. Since 2008, I have been developing computer-aided algorithms to analyze body signals better. There are several public domain algorithms of mine which is published that includes mammogram analysis to brain tumor analysis to particularly in the cardiovascular field. And in 2017, I started a company called Aculi Labs Private Limited to put all these algorithms that I have been developing for over ages into mobile phone. We call this application a LifeUs application. In last 3 years, we have been screening and monitoring several chronic patients, including patients, hypertensive patients, patients with Alzheimer's, patients with various other diseases like COPD and so on and so forth. So ours is a mobile application where you put your index finger on the camera, rear camera, and it captures your body signal vitals. We extract 95 bioparameters, and then by using these bioparameters, we do profiling of your organ system. And then by assessing the changes in your organ system and responses, we then do the risk assessment of various diseases. So that's what we do. When the COVID set up, when the COVID came into picture, because most of our patient base has been the cardiac patient as well as the hypertensive patient who were getting affected the most. Mortality, if you know, were very high amongst the patients of hypertension and cardiac issues. So a lot of our patients have got infected, and nobody had an idea about what needs to be done. So in the month of March, we repurposed our application called Lifers, which we were using mainly for cardiovascular risk assessment to try to see if we could do the same for COVID. We had some initial proofs. We then went to Medanta Medicity with the proof, and we asked their support to clinically validate the application. We did our first clinical validation where the expectation was to detect the asymptomatic cases from the mobile phone. And our target threshold was about 60%. So we thought that if we could get the asymptomatic patients segregated, even with an efficiency of 60%, that would do a world of good to minimize the load for the testing. We can actually prioritize the queue. And to our surprise, we got an initial accuracy of 92%, sensitivity of 93%, and specificity of 90%. So you just could put your finger on your camera and take 3 minutes test for 3 days, and you'd be knowing whether you are COVID positive or not. And not only that, we went ahead and did the risk assessment of what is your likelihood to become symptomatic from asymptomatic. And then we did one more step. If you have become symptomatic, what is your possibility of surviving? Then we went on to develop a home therapeutic protocol. Whenever we detected that you were asymptomatically COVID positive, we put you up in a very simplistic home protocol. And so far we have saved 1,362 lives, COVID positive patients, with one mortality, a patient with double stroke whom we could not save. So this has been our journey so far. I'm really thankful to Kavach, DST, Government of India, and everybody associated with HTIC who has been of immense help, helping us through our journey, providing the financial grants. And we look forward to release our application to public. It's going out for the second level of clinical trial. And the second level of clinical trial, we are so far bettering our accuracy in comparison to the first trial. WHO has recognized our trial, and there are various hospitals who have already started using our solution. So we hope to solve this massive problem, enable end user with an application. You just download it, you take your test, and you know if you are positive or not. If you are positive, take our home therapeutic protocol, home precaution, get recovered, and that's about our journey.
Thank you, sir. So we have one. Shri, so would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question, please? Okay, so let me ask her the question. What are your post-COVID plans, and whether it would continue with the production of N95 on a demand basis or convert machines back to earlier production? Also, there are any plans of reusable N95 mask?
Your question is to sir.
The question is to me, Santosh Kumar?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, we are going more seriously into this product. We have see one challenge in front of us is we wanted to do NIOSH certification and CE certification for our mask, and we wanted to cater the demand of the Indian, Indian health workers, as well as we wanted to see the possibilities for exporting once the market is open. Now, last 1 month, I am requesting the DGFT for a permission to send 50 samples to the NIOSH pretest and 50 samples for BIS pretest, and they said no, it is not possible. This is really discouraging me, because we have already shared the email which is already communicated with the labs for the test, and they have clearly specified the amount to be paid and how many samples are required. And the email also forwarded to the DGFT, but unfortunately, till date, I have not got the permission to send the samples for testing. So see, that doesn't stop us from proceeding further with the developments. And ma'am, as you asked the question, it is our priority to develop a mask which is reusable. See, today there are reusable, like people say, reusable N95 mask. I would like to say that the N95 efficiency is achieved by using a electrostatically charged Melblon filter. So if you wash this Melblon, or if you sanitize it, or if you dip into the alcohol, the electrostatic charge will go, and this 95% efficiency will become 20 or 30%. So it is advised to clean or wash an N95 mask. The system of reusing the N95 mask, advised by many experts, is like the virus will not stay on the mask for more than 72 hours. So if you are using a mask today, you can reuse it after 5 days if you keep it isolated in a sealed envelope for 4 days. So there is only possibility for reusing it now. But we have developed a new membrane which can be sanitized by dipping into the alcohol and then reuse it. That membrane is now under test, and hopefully we will be able to come up with a reusable mask in the future. Our target is that, because we want to reduce the wastage, because the millions of masks will be another challenge of disposal for our nation. Not only for our nation, the whole world tomorrow. So we are onto the job. And definitely the second question, we will not be stopping this company. We'll be continuing it for providing more and more varieties of respirators required for industrial purpose as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Posting the same question to Mr. Rupam, what would be your post-COVID plan, sir?
COVID was just an add-on. We had to do it for our patients. We continue to serve the patients of chronic and critical patients, such as cancer patients, cardiac patients. We serve patients of metabolic syndrome such as PCOD, PCOS, many of the severe diabetic patients with hypoglycemia. So we continue to do that. COVID has been a requirement to save our existing patients because they are the highly mortal patients. So this is something which we had to do in order to save our existing patient base, but we would continue to serve in general the chronic patients because ours is a patient-centric care today. A patient doesn't have that, he is standing against a $1 trillion company all alone. There is this medical devices, path lab, then you have pharma, then you have hospital and doctor. So the patient doesn't have enough power and information being told to him. So we empower the patients, and we call ourselves a patient-centric solution. So there are two parts. One is the therapeutic, one is the diagnostics, mobile-based diagnostics. So we'll continue to serve our patients. We are serving patients all across the globe. We'll continue to do so even after COVID. And COVID is not going anywhere for another 2 years anyways.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So there is one question by Mr. Jnana Krishnan. So would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question? Okay. So let me ask the question. So what are the quality standards being followed or compared to the international N95 mask? The question is to Mr. Santosh Kumar.
See, the quality standards, see, like many countries, they have their own standards for the N95 equivalent. See, N95 is basically an American standard based on the NIOSH specification. And the equivalent standard by the European Union, it is EN 149, they say FFP2 and FFP3. And Korea has the K94, and China has their GB 2626 standard. Australia has their standard. So, but unfortunately, till now, India does not have a standard, and also our BIS does not have their own lab. So they are using accredited lab of other parties. So in India, the maximum we could do is the BIS certification. Okay, and I'm very glad that since the COVID-19 lockdown, only very few companies could qualify for the BIS, even though they have tested over 100 samples. They have like they were in their site, they were saying that not more than 2 or 3 companies, including us, has qualified. So they have tested us according to the EN 149 standard, which is equivalent to the British EN standard. And we have also tested our mask based on the NIOSH set standard. So till the NIOSH certification is done, I cannot claim my mask as a N95 mask, but I can say it is an equivalent mask to N95. But now with the BIS certification, I could say that our mask is an FFP2 and FFP3 quality. Is that clear, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Hope that answered Mr. Nyanakrishna's question. So there is one question by Nitya. It is to Rupam, sir. So what are the different biomarkers chosen, and based on what were those chosen by you to predict COVID infection? Sir, you're on mute.
Lifers uses in total 95 different biomarkers, clinically validated. We are C certified and ISO made solution, which is going for FDA right now. So this 95 biomarkers includes hematology biomarkers, hemorheology biomarkers, cardiorespiratory biomarkers, neuropathy biomarkers, diabetic cardiovascular, autonomic neuropathy, autonomic system biomarkers. So these are totally 95 biomarkers that we have done. And how we do it is because I have a long history of working with virology, starting from SARS, then MARS. We have used a lot of solutions there. We have worked with patients of HIV. We have worked with patients of hepatitis B. So that gives us the ability to analyze the organ system, to understand how the organ system behavior is going to be different in case of COVID than in comparison to something like, let's say, pneumonia.
Thank you, sir. Hope that answered your question, Nitya. So one question.
Harshini,
Yes,
this is Arvind. I just have a
Yes, sir.
follow-up question for Rupam. Can I go ahead?
Yes, sir, sure.
Sure. Hi, Rupam. This is Arvind. You mentioned that there are 95 biomarkers. So are they collected using blood pathology, or all of these are collected through just the finger sensing by the mobile camera?
So it is, if I put my finger, this is all that it does is you put your finger on the mobile camera and everything is captured from there.
Okay.
Very non-invasive solution. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So one quick question. So what are the challenges you are currently facing now? Starting off with Mr. Santosh Kumar. So what would be the current challenges, sir?
See, obviously the challenge which I am facing today is the COVID cases are increasing. even the factory where I am making the mask is in a hotspot. So anytime I am expecting at least one or two people maybe found positive, then I have to shut down the production for a few days. Maybe the produced items in stock, we have to dispose it. So this is a challenge which I am seeing in front of me, and also while scaling up the production, adding more machines, adding more people. So when I add more machines, obviously I have to add more people. When I add more people, the probability of getting in some infected people can also be there. So what I am currently doing is trying to take warehouses or production, small production areas in different locations, and then divide the machines and keep it in different places. That one factory, if it get affected, then I can continue the production in another place. Even if the output is less, still I will be able to continue it. So this is going to be the challenge which each one of us is going to face during this, because it's unlike the initial phase lockdown, because it was just a lockdown. But today the problem is the community spread has happened, and anytime, anywhere, we can expect the people who are carriers, who doesn't have any symptoms, can also come. So this is the challenge which I am facing today.
Thank you, sir. So, posting the same question to Rupam, sir. So, what are the challenges you are currently facing?
Plenty to start. Belief is the major challenge that we'll keep on facing. Something looks too good to be true. That's one of the challenges that we would have. The second challenge that we'll be having is again the same challenge, that you are standing against a very, very formidable triangle of pharma, medical device, and path labs. So where people are extremely skeptical, no matter how much proof you give. First is the disbelief that an Indian scientific company could develop something which the world hasn't been able to solve. The second thing is the efficacy, which will remain a doubt just because of the cost factor. But we are hopeful that we can continue to save lives, and the story spreads in itself. So that is going to be a challenge that we'll face, and we have been facing it for last 3 years. So that's okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So there is one question by Ms. Mohana Preeti. So it is to Rupam, sir. What is the acceptance rate among doctors for this kind of technology?
As I told you, that ours is a patient-centric care, outcome-driven patient-centric care. We have so far partnered with hospitals like Medanta Medicity, hospitals like BLK, Max. We were supposed to be live with Columbia Asia. Now, just because we are patient-centric, we haven't been able to go too in-depth with a lot of doctors. It has always been a very selective set of doctors, and our onboarding process in itself is a very critical. We evaluate doctors in a very, very critical ways. So let's say that amongst the doctor community, the golden set, or 3% of the top doctors across the globe will be the one who will be using us, and will be going only with them. It's not really for the GPs and the other people. So we have been very categorical about whom we would be enabling. We do a lot of backgrounds. We do a lot of working with each doctor. So our onboarding process in itself is 3 months process, where a doctor really has to prove his analytical skills, his preference on the patient-centric, outcome-driven care. So it's never going to be for the general physicians or a lot of doctors. It is always going to be that handful, few percentage, the golden set, as we say, 2 to 3% of the golden set amongst all the clinical dimensions.
Yes, sir. So hope that answered our previous question. So one question by Mr. Jnana Krishnan, sir. Would you like to unmute yourself and go on with the question, please? Okay, so let me pose the question. How the biomarkers are helpful for renal transplant patients and for the dialysis patients for by identifying the body organ system?
That's an amazing question. I mean, this is something that I would like to answer in depth because this is very close to my heart. We have been solving, I mean, we have been helping a lot of patients with CKDs. So what happens is, I mean, let me explain you what is the role of a biomarker. Let's say that you are in the first stage of a kidney disease, nephrosis stage. If you do your creatinine test, blood creatinine test, the creatinine is going to be normal. eGFR is going to be normal. So now what exactly happens is because the our organs are extremely strong, you're not going to face any problems as such, major problems, unless and until they go down drastically all of a sudden. Now, what biomarkers help you to do is, say for example, you are drinking a glass of water. Your kidney is capable of filtering about 24 liters of water a day, but it is capable of filtering only 800 ml of water every hour. For the patient with kidney failure or the patient with nephrosis, the rate goes down. Now, you do not know exactly how much of water basically your kidney is able to filter. Now, what biomarkers help you to do is measure each and everything. If you take your blood test, you do not know how much of protein your kidney is able to filter out. What is the efficacy, I mean, efficiency of your gut lining, for instance, to absorb the nutrients. So the biomarker helps you to measure each and everything. You take a test before drinking water, after drinking water. You take a test before going to urine, after coming back from urine. You take a test before any specific type of food, after a specific type of food. So by doing this, we can actually create a personalized profile of how your body is working. And so far, the therapeutics that we follow is purely medicine-less therapeutics. To give you a simple hint that if you have a hypertension with a renal failure, the hypertension can be controlled purely by a very simple breathing exercise. You do not require really much of a medicine. And then if you are into dialysis, the actual responses can be measured, and then a lifestyle could be developed which would eliminate the need of dialysis. So these are the things that we are capable to do, and we do. So we test a patient for each of his responses, then understand which organ is functioning in which way, what is the interdependency of, for example, if you know, many of the kidney patients die by heart attack because of cardiorenal disease 3. And very rarely will a cardiologist and a nephrologist in India will come together and will serve you. So that's where Lifers comes into picture. It creates all the interlinking of your organs, and then tell to respective specialty that, okay, this patient has got this problem, this is the domain of problem, and then they solve that problem altogether. And that's why our survival rate of our chronic patients, cancer patients, has been so immensely high. And that's the same case that we have been able to help such a large number of COVID patients also.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hope that answered Mr. Jnana Krishnan's question. So one last question for the session by Ms. Divya Bharati. Ma'am, would you like to unmute yourself and go on with the question, please? Okay, so let me pose the question. So how efficient is this method in comparison with conventional RT-PCR for COVID-19? So yeah, it's again to Rupam, sir, I guess.
At the beginning, let me answer it. So you may be knowing the accuracy of RT-PCR for the asymptomatic patient is only about 65% as per the base paper that RT-PCR test had presented. RT-PCR becomes 96% accurate only when you have a significant amount of viral load. It has got a significant false positive. On the other hand, LIFER's accuracy, even for the asymptomatic stage, in our first clinical trial was 92%, sensitivity was 93%. And in the second ongoing trial that is going on in a mass population, our accuracy is 95%, which in comparison to RT-PCR is much better as far as the asymptomatic case is concerned. So how it works is, we detect a positive, we don't allow them to do an RT-PCR for another 3 to 4 days. So after the disease has progressed to a certain stage, they have to do RT-PCR. Otherwise, the negative that they get, it's just a satisfaction. You are not actually a negative. So that's a protocol that you have to follow. So what we do is, we detect it in initial phase and we mark, okay, these are the individuals who are going to be positive in your RT-PCR, and we give that list to the hospital. And over a period of 7 days, 10 days, these are the individuals who turns out to be positive. That's that's how we measure the accuracy, and it's over 95% at this moment.
Yes, sir. So thank you. So we are nearing 6. So before wrapping up the session, we've got a quick quiz. We've got a few questions. So kindly submit your answers in the chat box. So first question is stage. Option A, hierarchical, team-based, or horizontal.
The voice.
Yeah. So it was posted by Ms. Mohana Preeti. It's option D, horizontal or flat structure. Moving on to the next question. A legal contract that prevents employees from entering into market or professions considered to be in direct competition with the employer. Is it intellectual property agreement, non-compete agreement, non-disclosure agreement, or proprietary code agreement? Yeah, the answer was given by C3 MedTech. So it is option B, non-compete agreement. Moving on to the next question. Which country has topped the ease of doing business rankings in 2018, 2019, and 2020? Is it New Zealand, USA, Singapore, or UK? Yeah, we've not got the right answer yet. No. So yeah, we've got the answer by Mr. Santosh. So it is option A, New Zealand. Okay. Moving on to the next question. Which country has the highest number of hospital beds? Poland, Ireland, Germany, or Japan? Yeah, so I guess it was given by Mr. Devendra Kotki. The answer is option D, Japan. Moving on to the next question. How many years once should a patent be renewed? 10 years once, 15 years, 20 years, or 25 years once? So yeah, I guess the answer was given by Mr. BGRECE. It is 20 years once. So yeah, thank you all for responding to the quiz questions. And it is a great evening with two entrepreneurs joining us and sharing their experience and knowledge and answering the questions so patiently, sir. Thank you for joining us. So requesting Mr. Rupam to give the closing remarks first, please, sir.
That's been great. Learned a lot from sir, and wish him all the best. Wish all the entrepreneurs and others who have joined this session good luck. There is nothing that you cannot do. There are plenty of challenges, but those challenges are going to present you the opportunities. Just vouch on the opportunities. Have a sustainable finance, and best of luck to everybody, including HTIC.
So yeah,
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
sir. Santosh, yes, sir.
Thank you so much for, first of all, organizing this digital cafe by HDIC, and thank you for all who joined us. And I wish success to everybody. And thank you, Ruben sir, for all your appreciation. And I hope India could achieve the goals by support of our technical departments from various sectors. And thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So thank you all for joining us. Let's have a great weekend. Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye, sir.